Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to Grand Cruise Astrology. My name is Clayton Cruz, and today I'm going to talk to you about Jupiter, which, as I speak, has just moved into the sign of Pisces. So, with this video, I'm just going to kind of give you a bird's eye view of the next year or so with Jupiter in the sign of Pisces. Going forward in Pisces, moving very quickly and tracking back through, or moving into Aries and then tracking back through Pisces toward the end of the year. And so this is a big shift. We've had Jupiter in the sign of Aquarius for a while. It ingressed into Aquarius last January of 2021. And so we've been hanging out with Jupiter in Aquarius for about a year. Jupiter has been with Pisces, and that's been a very interesting energy. Jupiter and Pisces together in Aquarius, and has really put a magnifying glass or a focus on group energy and the tribes and groups and associations that we connect with. And it's a very sort of utilitarian kind of energy, Aquarian energy. With Jupiter there, it gives a lot of goodwill and hope, and accounts for all, but it can be very calculating in a sense because it is a fixed air sign. So Jupiter's, Aquarius is traditionally a Saturnian ruled sign. So Jupiter is not at its utmost strength in the sign of Aquarius, but it does all right. However, it has been with Saturn. So Jupiter is expanded in the way that it can, but it can only go so far in Aquarius anyway. And with Saturn being there, those boundaries are pretty set firm. And so Jupiter has expanded as far as it can within the confines of the realities that we've been living in, more or less. Couple that with the fact that, as I talked about in other videos, we've had the South Node transiting through the sign of Sagittarius. That kind of, in a roundabout way, de-emphasizes Jupiter a little bit too. It's kind of, South Node can be a little bit of an energy drain. And so it just, all in all, goes to suggest that Jupiter moving into the sign of Pisces is a big shift. It's moving away from moving out of the sign of Aquarius, moving away from Saturn and Saturn influence, and into a sign, Pisces, that it's exalted. That's the word astrologers use for to talk about a planet that's not in its home sign, but in a sign that it really does well in, which is the sign of Pisces. Jupiter really does well in Pisces. Jupiter really, really likes its ability to expand in the sign of Pisces. Why? Pisces is about boundarylessness. Pisces is about unconditional love. It's about caring for all. It's about selflessness, right? So very different than Aquarian energy, especially with Saturn there, which is very, very much about confines. And it has a humanitarian feel, sure, Aquarius does, but it definitely has a kind of cool structure to it with Saturn there. It kind of has this calculated utilitarian container, right? But in the sign of Pisces, Jupiter going in there, it's going to be able to expand. And how will it expand? It will expand in wanting to connect, wanting to dissolve boundaries. Very different energy than what we've been living under. Now, Saturn is still going to be in Aquarius, so that energy is still there. We still have realities that we're living within, but there will be this sense of wanting to connect again, wanting to spread out. Think of Pisces, it's mutable water. So we're wanting to flow in all directions and not be and wanting to feel connected to all and not be so hemmed in and living under the confines of container necessarily. So and this can manifest in a lot of different ways. I mean, on an individual level, we can be feeling like we want to connect with people again. We want to feel that oneness of community and humanity, connecting to all humanity. That's Piscean, and feeling like there is no boundarylessness. We're wanting to melt into all. Right? That's that's sort of the Piscean mantra. But taking it to a more collective level, this could be turning our attention toward global care, right? And helping those less fortunate. This could be about medicine reaching places that are underserved, communities that are underserved. I kind of see that being one manifestation of it collectively. Seeing medicine getting to not being so confined under the boundaries of maybe nation states, and being more global, possibly. That's one way that Jupiter and Pisces can manifest itself. But it can, I would expect this energy to really bring more connection internationally. We've had, as of late, it's been, there's been lockdowns and there's been limitations on that front. I would expect to be a little more openness with this energy, with Jupiter going into Pisces. There are other factors at work here. And in January, there are Mercury's going retrograde and Venus is retrograde, and there will be other times during the year where planets are retrograde, and so there is going to be some rehashing of things. But Jupiter, just by itself, is going to bring some optimism and some desire, and that sort of push to dissolve a lot of boundaries and to be more open and to connect. Pisces, Jupiter in Pisces is going to need to feel that it is not walled off. So that's sort of what we have there. Again, I talked about, Sagittarius, and Jupiter is a ruler of Sagittarius. And so, again, we've had that South Node in Sagittarius. It's been there for about a year and a half, and it will be in January moving out. Is that January? Yeah, in January. Yeah, at the end of the end of January, it will be moving out of latter part of January, it will be moving out of Sagittarius. And so I do see Jupiter getting a little bit of its mojo back in a lot of different areas. And so, and that's good. That's good. Jupiter is the planet of optimism, of sort of bouncing your step, and expansion and growth, and, lady luck, and taking your chances, and things working out, just shooting from the hip, right? And that's been sort of hemmed in lately. That's not really been the energy in focus, but I think it's going to get its mojo back. And, I think we can benefit from that. I think that's a really good thing. Now, as I said, Jupiter will, in May, it's going to leave the sign. Now, Jupiter normally spends about a year in every sign. It's kind of moving very quickly through Pisces this year, and it will go into Aries once we get into mid-May. Second week of May, we're going to have Jupiter moving into Aries, and then it will stay in Aries until we get to October, and then it will track back, and it goes retrograde before that, and will track back into it'll track back into Pisces in late October, the very end of October, right around Halloween time. So how do I see this? So again, I do feel there is going to be that push, like I said, for connection with others, and wanting to, that setting self aside, and feeling part of a greater collective again. I think what I'm seeing is us getting back to that in a way. And then once we get into mid to late May, once we get into the summertime, I see that energy with Jupiter getting more individual, all right, with Aries there. Aries is, kind of the, what's in it for number one. Not necessarily in a bad way, but it's about getting back to our personal expression, our individuality, right? So whereas the beginning of the year, up until about mid-May, it's very much about collective and selflessness, and very caring, unconditional love kind of energy, and dissolving of boundaries, which is can be very good for a lot of us, given what we've been going through. But once we get into mid-May, it's going to turn more like, okay, well, things are maybe we're starting to feel more connected again. Well, what is it we personally want for ourselves, and what is the fun thing that we used to like to do, that we want to do, that we want to get back to, and want to express? What is that thing that is us, the thing that is individual, that is our isness, that defines our character and who we are and our self-expression? What is that? That's that Aries energy. That's that spark, right? And it's it's a lot of fun. It can be impulsive. It can be spontaneous, but it's very individual. And so it is a long journey from where we were in, say, December, toward when Jupiter was transiting through the end of Aquarius, jumping all the way ahead to the summer when Jupiter is transiting through Aries. It's a very different energy, and it's a very fast train that we have running through Pisces, right? There at the start of the year. However, by the end of the summer, we are going to get back a little bit more to that sort of accounting for larger than self, greater than self connections, right? Toward the end of the year, the last couple of months there, it looks like we're going to have a time where we're getting back to, it's not going to be so individual focused and self focused, and more selflessness. Again, a more attention on that, and that's good. It's kind of like, okay, we had some fun, we tried that out again, we got it out, and now it's like, okay, well, let's look at the greater picture here, more than just self, and that'll be the case until right up until the I mean, once you get to the last week or so of the year, 2022, it goes back into Aries and we start again. Then we're in Aries proper once we get into 2023. And so I do kind of see this Jupiter transit is us expanding into a new normal of how we can be in a world with all the realities that have been going on these last year or two, how we can be in the world, how we can connect, how we can express our humanity and our need for connection to greater human connection into the larger village, while at the same time getting back to our individuality and what makes us tick, and what it is that really lights that fire of spontaneity with us. And then toward the end of the year, checking ourselves a little bit before we move into that Aries energy proper in 2023. It looks really, there's a lot of hope, because Jupiter is the planet of hope. It's the planet of optimism. It's the planet of trusting in luck a little bit. And Jupiter, this last couple of years, it's been in a Saturnian ruled signs of Capricorn and Aquarius, and it's had a lot of Saturnian influence amongst other planets like Pluto, and there's been a lot of tension around Jupiter. There's been a lot of other players involved that have kind of kept Jupiter in check a little bit, and it's kept that optimism in check. We can only feel so good about anything at any given time because of the larger realities. I do think that's going to change. I think that we are. I think that we're going to start seeing the light in the tunnel here in a lot of ways, on a personal level and a collective level, and that's good. Of course, Jupiter is going to be affecting everybody's chart differently, so it's not going to affect everybody in the same way. But as a whole, as a general reading, I can say this is good news. So that's what I got for Jupiter. Hope this is helpful. Hope gives you a little bit of buoyancy into the new year. And plenty more readings to do. January and February, as I said, there's still retrograde planets, so there's still other stuff going on. It's not all roses, but this is a call for a little bit of hope and some optimism and some goodwill and jovialness and buoyancy, everything that Jupiter represents. So that's what I offer. I hope you can take this and run with it, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.